All right, well, good morning. My name is Steve Gullius, and I have the absolute honor of being principal here at Bishop Macdonell. On behalf of my vice principal, Brian Halford, all the staff and students who make up the community here at Bishop Macdonell, we'd like to welcome all of our distinguished guests, the Honourable Minister of Education, Indira Naidoo-Harris, Member of Provincial Parliament for Guelph, Liz Sandals, colleagues from the Upper Grand District School Board, our Wellington Catholic District School Board staff, members of the community and media, to Celtic Country. It's a privilege to host you here at our school that is home to so many specialized programs, including, for example, the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program, our Graphics Factory program, and is a place of leading and learning that honors students' strengths, honors the importance of positive relationships, and honors each of the pathways, including apprenticeships, college, university, the workplace, and community living. I'd now like to invite Tamara Nugent, Director of Education for Wellington Catholic District School Board, to bring greetings.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, Senior Administration, the staff and students of Wellington Catholic District School Board, I'm delighted to bring greetings and welcome you, Honourable Minister of Education Indira Naidoo-Harris, and MPP Liz Sandals to Bishop Macdonell Catholic High School. A warm welcome is also extended to our colleagues from Upper Grand District School Board. Earlier this morning, we were able to visit just one of many innovative classrooms in our district, a grade 11 functions course that purposefully infuses technology with mathematics. Today, working with programs that were created by Bishop Macdonell students in a double credit mathematics and coding initiative. Thank you to their teacher, Ho Hai Nguyen, for inviting us to experience alongside our students an example of modern learning environments that cultivate curiosity, collaboration, and high achievement levels, as you witnessed, are also fun and very engaging. We continuously strive to be on the learning and leading edge in a rapidly changing global world and to create equity of outcome for each of our students. We know that learning is a social construct and our students are connecting and collaborating in new ways. It is a whole community approach, and it's made possible through partnerships and strong working relationships like that we share with our coterminous board. And at this time, I'd like to invite forward Martha Rogers, Director of the Upper Grand District School Board, to bring greetings as well.
Thank you very much, and it's my pleasure to be here this morning on behalf of the trustees and senior staff of the Upper Grand District School Board. Thank you, Tamara, for opening up your beautiful school to us, and thank you, Minister Naidoo-Harris, and to our own Liz for your continued support and commitment to our students. In the short period of time since the broadband modernization project began in our board, we've seen wonderful improvements. We've heard from teachers who say that the upgrades made to our network speed and capacity have already made a big difference to the classroom, making classrooms more interactive and inquiry-based, and making our classrooms more collaborative. We are very grateful to you for allowing us to be in the first wave of the funding for the project, and we are deeply grateful that you took the time of your very busy lives to join us here today. It's my pleasure to introduce our Liz Sandals to you. For those of you who don't know, I have known Liz for over 30 years. I met her first when she was a parent. She delegated the board, and we have enjoyed many chuckles over sitting there as a staff member as this clearly very articulate and powerful human being was delegating our board, and we sat up and we listened and we paid attention. And as sometimes happens, the parent delegation ran for trustee in the next election, and so we welcomed her as a trustee. She was also chair of the board. From our board, she went on to the Public School Boards Association, where she was the president for, I think it was four unprecedented terms, which they had never had before, and I think never have had since, a president for 4 terms. And then in 2003, she ran for the election as the Liberal candidate, was successful, and before very long, she was our Minister of Education. And what better background could a person ever have to be Minister of Education? She absolutely knew the content, so apart from her skills as a human being, there would be no trying to talk her into anything that wouldn't be dead accurate, because she'd be on to you. So I didn't bother trying. And from there, as you know, she went to be a president of the Treasury Board. Liz has a background in computer science and math, and so again, there couldn't be a better person to be president of the Treasury Board. And so for all of that, we are deeply grateful, and I am very proud to call you my friend and would like to invite you to the podium.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Martha. That was lovely. And it's great to see everybody here from Wellington Catholic and from Upper Grand and from the Ministry of Education. And as Martha told you, I've been kicking around education for a long time. So I thought maybe I'd tell you a few stories about things that sort of observed over the years. And one thing I remember would be back in the 90s, when we were probably just starting to bring technology into the classroom and starting to use educational software. And the first problem I can remember running into was that things that worked in Guelph didn't work at Norwell, which is the school, the high school up in Palmerston, or Mount Forest or Arthur, whatever. So you could have things that would work at a high school in Guelph, but there was no way it would work in the schools at the north end of the county. That was because they had no high-speed internet access. And then when I was president of OPSPA, I got to talk to people from all over the province. And I can remember talking to one of the trustees who'd been a long-time trustee up in Kuwait, and Patricia. And so this is out like Sioux Lookout, Dryden, in the middle of nowhere. And they had these teeny tiny little high schools, and there was no way you could amalgamate them because it was an hour flight to the next community. And they didn't have any way really to ever get a critical mass of kids for some of the grade 11 and 12 courses. But if they could get internet access through satellite, they could consolidate students from several of these remote high schools into one cluster, and they could actually offer, for the first time ever, a senior science credit, like chemistry or physics. They'd never been able to do that before. But they could have a teacher in Dryden teaching a few students in Dryden, but a student here and a student there and a couple of students here. And they could actually let the students in the outlying communities get some of the senior credits that they'd never been able to do before. And that was because they had access to more bandwidth, that they could actually do it that way. Then I remember actually when I first started to be an MPP, being up in the north end of the county, and some of you might know where Clifford is, probably not a lot, but if you go another 100 yards out, that you're so far north and west that do you bump into Huron or Perth up there? I think it's actually Huron if you go another few steps down the road. And they were opening up a new branch of the county library, and it was a lovely building, and it was delightfully laid out, and there was this cluster of computers. And it happened to be fairly late in the afternoon that we were doing this. And the weirdest thing happened. Suddenly, all these high school kids from Norwell, it would have been, because that's where the bus would have come from, suddenly appeared in the town library. And they all ran for the computers. And I said, what's going on that high school kids come to the town library as soon as they get off the bus from high school? This is highly weird. And the librarian said, oh, it's because it's the only place in town that has any high-speed internet access. When they go home, there's literally no service. So if they've got anything they need to do, or if they just want to have fun, they have to come here because it's literally the only place that they can get high-speed internet access. So those are some of the stories about what happens, the difference when you do or you don't have high-speed access. So I am delighted to introduce our Minister of Education, Indira Naidoo-Harris. Indira was first elected to be the MPP from Milton in 2014. She has a long history in media, actually, and journalism that I won't go into. But she was a great addition to our caucus. She was actually first, seeing as we're talking about education, she was appointed to be the Associate Minister of Education in August 2016, where she was responsible for early years and childcare. And then just last month, she was appointed to be Minister of Education, a very good choice. And she's now responsible not just for the early years and childcare, but for all the elementary and secondary schools in Ontario as well. And she's going to tell us about some of the really exciting things that we have been doing in broadband so we can have more of those good news stories like in Kuwait and Patrician, and less of the where kids can't really get the education that they could have access to. So she's going to tell us what's happened. Welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Liz. And you know what? I've always known this about MPP Sandals. Liz, I'm going to just call her. She's a great You're a great storyteller, and I've always noticed that about you. And just with this brief introduction today, I feel like I've done a whole tour of this area. I know all the little towns that I maybe didn't know before, but also you have such a great way of connecting those stories with what this is really all about, right? And something I've learned about you over the years, and I mean this honestly, is that your experience, your observations, your thoughtfulness, you are always so open to sharing them with others. And I have learned early on that when someone like Liz speaks, just listen, right? Just listen and be a sponge and just take it in, because what comes out of her mouth is always amazing observations and reflections and good advice, and really she has been a mentor to many of us in government, and many of us younger ones, and it's been an honor and a privilege working with you over the years, honestly. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour, bonjour, Annie. I can't tell you how pleased I am to be here with you all for this very special announcement, and how great it is to be here this morning at Bishop Macdonell Catholic High School. You know, the young people here are absolutely our future. And it was great to see them this morning in that classroom and actually work with them and talk to them and find out in real ways how this connectivity and how wave one of what we've been trying to do with the broadband piece has been actually working on the ground. So I had a great conversation with Cole, who filled me in on all kinds of things, but I kind of pushed him a bit. I said, you know, so is this really helping you? Is it really going to help you with your future? And he said, oh yeah. He said, like, I'm a kind of a tech guy. So he said, this already makes me feel really comfortable working with it. I feel like I really know how to manage this. I know how to get a good handle on the environment that I'm working with. And he said, and I actually learn things. And so I also asked him, can you work at different speeds? Like, if you pick up things faster, can you move forward in terms of what you're learning? He said, oh yeah, I can move at my own pace. I can do this and do that. And you know, it is those kinds of comments in the end that drive home to all of us that we're on the right track, right? There are many of us sitting in rooms and educators and the rest of us trying to figure out what's the right thing to do for young kids, but nothing replaces a conversation with a young person in a classroom who tells you, this is great, thank you, and it's going to help me so much in my future. And so I just want to say to all of you that conversation says to me that I need to say thank you to you, to the staff, to the educators, and to the parents who may be here today, because your hard work, your tireless efforts and your dedication is really what's putting our young people on track and really giving those young people like Cole and George, and I'm trying to think of who else I met this morning, a number of young people, but really they are our future, and it was clear to me that they are on their way to a strong future. I want to, of course, start by acknowledging that Guelph is located on the traditional territory of many Indigenous peoples going back countless generations, and I'd like to show my respect for their contributions in building what is now Ontario and Canada. Again, before I begin, Liz, thank you for joining us here today. As I said, I've known you for years. You've been solid, but more importantly, I think it's something that you all should know, that Liz has been a strong voice for Guelph, and she has been a strong voice for all of you at Queen's Park. I have never seen Liz afraid to say what she thinks or afraid to really say something that may at times be challenging that needs to be said, and she often talks about what is important and what her experiences are like right here in Guelph, and how the things that we do will affect people in her community. As you know, she was Minister of Education, so like I've already scheduled a lunch, I think, with her and a couple of other things, because I know she knows it from the inside out. And as you were pointing out earlier, you know, she knows it as a trustee, she knows it on OPSPA, she knows it in the ministry, and there are some things that you can only learn from conversations with people. You can study as much as you want to. My staff can give me as many notes, but really, I've come to recognize that it's a conversation that I might have with Liz that will really clear the way and the path for me in terms of making sure that I do what I need to do in this role, which is so amazing. So just thank you, Liz, for your passion, your advocacy, and for your service over all of the years. We are absolutely going to miss you. I also want to acknowledge Tamara Nugent, Director here, and Martha Rogers, as well as the Vice Chair and Superintendent for joining us today. A big thank you also to the principals, students, and staff for hosting us. I know that it's not easy when we descend and you have schedules and you have things going on and you have to fit us in and accommodate media, but thank you for that, and thank you for creating a strong learning environment right here at this school. I know it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes teamwork and partnerships, and that is very clearly here in this school, and so thank you for everything that you do. When it comes to helping our young people prepare for the future, nothing plays a more important role than access to broadband. And I'll tell you why. Because broadband is a gateway. It creates a gateway for our young people living in rural, remote, and northern communities to access to the outside world, and access to different pathways and different ways of learning. It gives our young people the tools they need to reach their full potential. And so it's absolutely a priority for us at the Ministry of Education to ensure that there is good access to broadband for students across the province. And as Liz was saying, you know, I grew up in a smaller northern community for a while in my lifetime, and I know how disconnected you can feel. And so just being able to have that ability to access the information you need when you walk into your classroom or walk into the library is huge. It's huge. I understand you're also working on something in terms of Wi-Fi on the bus. I'm on my laptop in the car, not driving, you know, but because I go back and forth a lot. I travel a lot during the day. And having that time to do my homework is key. And so being able to be in the library with the students, being able to work at their own pace, really helps them meet the requirements that they need to meet when it comes to that education. And so with that in mind, I would now like to give you an update on the first phase of our broadband project that was completed just last month, that project that you all were a part of. I want you to know that it was a huge success, and I'm pleased to share that all schools and all students in Guelph have reached the target speed of 1 megabit per second. In fact, that's more than 40,000 students in the Wellington Catholic District School Board and Upper Grand District School Board combined to have reached the target speed. Just think about that. 40,000 kids now have key access to actually other resources and better learning abilities and opportunities for them. And every single one of those kids has been impacted by this, but also their families. Because ultimately, in the end, when you're that parent at the end of the day, sitting down and trying to help your child with the homework and help them figure out what happened in their day, they're going to arrive home ahead of the game. They're going to arrive home with a better sense of the concepts that they've been exposed to in the classroom. And they're going to arrive at home with a better understanding, which really helps us all, right? And the way their horizons have been broadened really contributes to building stronger communities for all of us. And so it is because of the huge success here in Guelph that I am pleased to announce that we are now committing an investment of $90 million to expand broadband in Wave 2 across the province. Already, students are benefiting from the $50 million that was invested as part of Wave 1 to more than 70,000 students in 181 schools. We have taken the findings and outcomes from the first wave and will use that to inform our approach to Wave 2 and completion of future waves. We owe much of the success of Wave 1 to what's happening right here in Guelph and your hard work. You ensured that this was a success, and the success stories from here is really putting the students in the rest of the province on a path to a stronger and more and better future. This next phase will now benefit more than 250,000 students at approximately 850 additional schools. I think that's huge. I think it's amazing, and I think it's going to make a wonderful impact on our educational system. It's part of our ambitious plan to have all Ontario students gain access to high-speed connectivity by 2021. And I'm here to tell you today that we're on track to achieve that, including the online resources needed. So they will get access to the online resources needed for learning in a technology-enabled world. This is so important for student learning. And in fact, I'd like to share some feedback that we received recently from an elementary school teacher here in Guelph named Rebecca. And so let me just tell you a little bit about what she had to say. This is a message that she sent to us. She said, "I just wanted to let you know how much the improvements in our broadband capacity have benefited my classroom. Towards the end of last year, I was frequently noticing how difficult some days were to access online resources. For instance, time lags, students unable to participate in games or online research, difficulty loading my own resources or student presentations from the Google Drive because of size, and so on and so forth. It was becoming a significant issue for me and my students so that I could no longer rely on some activities that I had planned." She says, "Since the beginning of this year, we have had no such challenges, and I very much appreciate the increased access. Thank you again for your effort in this area." That's amazing. That's an actual testimonial from a teacher, and it's stories and testimonials like this that tell an important story. And let me tell you, we've been receiving dozens of them. It's a story of learning. It's a story of equity and access, and it's a story of success. And what I'm hearing is that our vision to modernize the way we support student learning is not only critically important, but it is working, and it's providing tangible benefits. And so through these experiences, we hope students will develop the skills they need to help them thrive and to help them be globally connected and help them be successful. It allows school boards and educators to offer a rich virtual learning environment for their students, a virtual learning environment that provides an online platform for the delivery of high-quality resources. So this creates an avenue to more resources, essentially, more classroom resources for the teachers and educators. So important, because sometimes your students move in directions that you can't predict. And so you can go out there, find those modules, and keep that learning going. Because as Liz said, and Martha said, and Tamara said, it's about curiosity. If you've got those young people in the classroom and you can encourage them to stay engaged, that's huge. They will keep on learning. And so Waterloo Region District School Board, for example, is creating digital content for an app such as Empower, but essentially broadband connectivity and our virtual learning environments are important to the success of our students. We know that education is the cornerstone of our society, and we know that this step is going to help us get there and make sure our children are strong learners for the future. So thank you so much for having me here today. My goal is to make sure Ontario is not simply the best education system in the world, but the best education system for the world. A big thank you again to the principal, teachers, and staff here, and of course the boards. Thank you, merci, miigwech. Together we're going to make sure that our children do get the best start in life. It's a pleasure to be here. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them. And that's it. Thank you. Yeah. You can either scrum or you can do one-on-ones, whatever you'd prefer. Okay. Okay, we'll do the quick vote.